Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Rocking Horse Podcast. Today's episode is Rumble in the Bronx. That's right. Rumble in the Bronx. I wanted to do this one because it marked the 5th episode and I wanted to do something really special. And this movie is Jackie Chan at his prime. Well, see, that's either an overstatement or an understatement, because anytime you watch a Jackie Chan movie, he's always been in his prime. So he's always he's older now. But when I was younger, he was like the Charlie Chaplin and the Buster Keaton of that time. Only with Kung Fu. Chinese Kung Fu. Rumble in the Bronx is one of those 90s martial arts films that you might have seen when you were young if you like Jackie Chan movies. It's like one of the best early Jackie Chan films, and to me it feels like one of those arcade games that you play for a quarter, those fighting games you play. Well, back in the day, if you ever went to an arcade and you just wanted to play something and there was a fighting game that you'd traverse the city and you're just meeting bad guys and you beat them up side scrollers. That's what this movie is to me. I always thought that when I was young, I thought this was a remake of a video game, but it's not. It's just Jackie Chan. So Rumble in the Bronx is super cheesy, extremely 1000% cheese. Jackie Chan's character, he comes to New York to help his uncle with his market. He has a big market in the Bronx, ready to sell, ready to retire, and he's getting married. He meets his aunt for the first time, and he's surprised because she's not Chinese, she's a black woman. And Jackie Chan's like, well, I'm just surprised. And he's like, hey man, this is America. This is love. And I thought that was interesting because as soon as Jackie Chan comes in, he sees a Chinese woman and he's like, hello, you must be my uncle's wife. And the uncle comes in and corrects him, and he's like, no, every time you see a Chinese woman, she's not your aunt. And, it's like a big joke. And I think it's a big deal to Chinese customs. But it's true. Once you come to America, you fall in love with anyone in all types of race. There's so much going on in this first scene. There is Jackie Chan arrives. He meets his uncle's bride. His uncle's getting married. He's also selling the store, and you meet the buyer, and there's just a lot being displayed right in the beginning. A guy that takes care of limos lets Jackie Chan's uncle borrow the limo. So they go back to his apartment and they park the limo outside. And then there's this gang that shows up. This gang is doing crazy stuff. They race down the street with their motorcycles, and then they get on top of the cars and race back. And then Jackie Chan sees this and he jumps out of the window and he's like, no, don't crush my uncle's limo. And then they see who it is and they're like, oh shit, not this guy. And then they drive away because they hear the cops. And then Jackie Chan's stuck outside and he's like, uncle. The next scene is back. Oh no, the next scene is at the wedding, and Jackie Chan meets the woman that bought the restaurant, Elaine. And it's Chinese custom. So if you're buying or selling something from someone, you're immediately invited to the wedding. And she's there. That's why I was like, why is she there? But apparently it's like Chinese custom. So Elaine and Jackie decide to work together, and Elaine is in the back office, and there's like a one-way mirror, and then the over-the-top bad guys show up, and the street over-the-top guys show up, and me and my buddy, we would quote this all the time, where like his name's Angelo. We quote so many lines in this movie. Well, this guy Angelo, he's like the scum. He's like eating stuff and biting stuff and putting it back on the shelves, and he's like looking through the mirror. He thinks it's a mirror, but it's a one-way mirror, and Jackie Chan and Elaine are like watching him, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'll make him pay for everything." So they leave, and Elaine is like, "Hey, what about this? You're gonna pay for this?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And blah 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 blah. And then a man in their gang that we don't know about is Chinese, and he's speaking Cantonese to her. And then they start making a mess on the counter and everything, throwing everything around. And then Jackie shows up, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And then more guys show up, and then Jackie Chan beats the crap out of all of them, all four, like pretty good. Like it looks really, really brutal. I know, like for a fact that Jackie Chan uses the same stunt people for all of the movies, so they know how to take a punch, they know how to take a hit, they know how to sell the fight. It is remarkable. It's really good. Like it's really good stunt work. It's really good fighting, because this is like not. I mean, I'm sure it's super choreographed, but like to a point where they do multiple takes. I'll come back to that later, because Jackie Chan is like insane. Like there's no other way to explain him, because he'll do one thing, get hurt, and then come back and do it again until he gets it right for our entertainment. There's only a few guys like that left, and usually they'll let the stuntman do it, or they'll superimpose someone, or they'll CGI the thing. And this is before all of that, with a small budget of like $7 million. This is before all that. So it's like, can we get away with this? Yes, we can, because Jackie Chan can do it. So that being said, Jackie Chan beats all these guys up, and so everyone's impressed. They're like, "Whoa, Jackie Chan, whoa, cool." And then he goes home, and then he sees in the Bronx, quotation marks, it's not the Bronx, it's not New York, it's Canada, because you see like big mountains in like the distant shots, these big wide shots, and there's like a big mountain in the way sometimes, and I'm like, hey, that's not New York, it's Canada. But Canada is always used for New York or LA sometimes, because I think it's cheaper, and there's like, they know, I think that whole country is like where they make big movies, and they have big studios. It's like whenever you're watching the credits in movies, just always look at the last like few credits. They're always saying thanks to Canada or whatever, because they can go over there and get away with shooting LA, New York, Texas, and whatever. Anyways, so they have this plan. No, I'm sorry. There's this woman being mugged, and then there's like these guys carrying her into an alley. Jackie Chan is like, hey, pretending to be a cop. He pulls out his wallet, and he's like trying to reach for a gun, supposedly, because he's trying to be a good person. And he goes up to the girl, and he's like, "Are you okay?" She kicks him in the nuts. Poof. And he's like, "Oh, damn it." And then all these guys start showing up, and they start beating his ass, like, do. But he like gets away, and he beats them up all cool using like, it's like early parkour mixed with like, I don't know, man. It's like mixed with just him using the environment. Like he's just jumping and moving around, throwing things at people, and then when it lands, they have to move out of the way, or it hits them, and then he finds a way to use said obstacle and kick them or punch them for him to get away. He does that in all of his movies, and it works. It always works. It's like the coolest thing ever. And then they're like chasing him. He literally goes to a dead end alley, and then he's stuck there. And Angelo shows up with the main guy. He pulls out a gun, and the main bad guy is like, "This is the guy that broke your freaking nose." And it's so it's so over the top, but it's so cool. I don't know why. Like, it's just the best. And then Angelo pulls out the gun, and he's like, "You're gonna die." Yeah, so and they're like, whoa, let's have some fun with him. I remember thinking this like next scene was like impressive and kind of like, well, he's not going to die, but I kept thinking like, you know what? If someone were to do that to another person like that would hurt them a lot, you know? And I've only seen it in this movie, and I wonder like if that's really possible. I'm pretty sure it is. So like these guys not beat them up physically, but they find these bottles and they wrap their bats with like cloth, and they like smack them across, and they don't necessarily hit Jackie Chan, but they break behind the wall next to him, and they explode. So all these shards of glass are just like raining on him, and I'm pretty sure they're cutting him, and they do it so much to the point where like it starts to cut like his head and his face, his back, and his body. And then, you know, some of the bottles end up hitting him because he can't concentrate no more, and he's being beaten up. And I remember thinking like, you know, that can't hurt anybody. But then like towards the end, like he's literally covered in glass. He's on the floor covered in glass, and something happens where like they just I think Angelo wanted to shoot Jackie Chan, but then it's like, yo, like, we're just gonna kick his ass, like, what are you doing? And then one of the girls is like, hey, stop it, and he smacks him, and then everybody calls him like a party pooper, and they just leave him, and he's like, hey, no, wait for me, and he's just on the floor like a dead zombie covered in glass. And I'm like, holy shit, you know what? I think if you were to throw constant bottles at someone and they were just break, that could really mess someone up like pretty badly. I missed a character. There's this kid named Danny. He's in a wheelchair. His sister is the main gang leader's girlfriend. All right, Nancy. So Nancy finds him all bloodied. She nurses him back to health. Danny sees him, and he's like, oh man. He's like, are you okay? I guess he came back from school, and he's just on the couch. He's all beat up, and he's like, oh. And then we don't see Nancy for a while, and she's I guess she goes to work. I don't know what the hell's going on. She goes to work. Jackie takes Danny to school, and then this is where like the main storyline starts. There's these Jamaican guys selling diamonds to this like mafia organization, or there's just this shady organization. And then like at one point, like the car crashes, and it's full of Jamaican guys, and they're just like all bloodied and beat up. Angelo and some of the crew happens to see it, and it happens like almost in front of Jackie Chan and Danny, the kid in the wheelchair. And so they go, Angelo and some of the crew go up and try to rob some of them. And they get the gold, they take the briefcase and everything. And then the organization guys show up, and they start like blasting everything. And then they're like, damn it, we need that briefcase, you know? So they just like throw grenades into the wreckage, and it blows up, and there's like the evidence is all gone, and they're chasing like Angelo. Jackie and Danny hide in a building, their building, I think, and Jackie's too afraid to like push him around in the wheelchair because they got guns, and he's like, I might as well just carry this kid. So he grabs them, and they hide in the apartment. Angelo is being chased, so he hides the diamonds in Danny's comforter, in his little seat cover. And then the guys find Angelo and they're gonna kill him. And then another guy shows up and he's like, hey, there's cops everywhere. So they just throw guns away and they walk away. Everybody gets away and gets arrested. Not knowing anything, Jackie just grabs the comforter and puts it back on the wheelchair, and they go back inside. And then Danny's like, hey, my sister was here. She got me a new comfort. She got me a new comfort for my chair and everything. And they're like, oh, cool. And then they take the old one off and they put the new one. And Jackie's like kind of curious. He's like, where's your sister? Like, you're just living here by yourself? Like, how do you cook and eat and all that? The sister Nancy is like listening to everything. And his little brother like sticks up for her and everything. She's like, oh, she's like a model and she has lots of jobs and everything. And, she doesn't have time, but, she's always looking out for me. She's always working, but she's out, in a gang, getting in some trouble or whatever. She likes that. She likes hearing that her brother is like not sticking up for her, I would say, but more like just telling her like, oh, my sister's always busy. So, so we won't get into a weird conversation about who she really is. She's always busy. And he starts talking about how he gets mad that he can't protect her and be there for her because he's stuck on a wheelchair, and she does so much. And Nancy, the sister, starts to cry, and she comes out and she starts hugging the brother. And then she sees, she knows it's him because she feels bad that they beat the shit out of him in the alley. She doesn't want to tell Danny that her gang beat up Jackie Chan. And Jackie Chan's so like, oh, it's so much for a kid to understand, and it's so weird, so just forget about it. And he just kind of like brushes it off. He's like, don't worry, no. She's like, why are you crying? He's like, oh no, I just like, you bumped into her the other day and she's so nice and she's really cool and blah blah blah. And she's like, yeah, that's my big sister. And she keeps crying and everything, and he's like, and moves on. And I just thought that was like I remember being a kid thinking like, wow, Jackie's like very he's so cool. Like, he's just like, whatever. Then the next scene is like the organization's lawyer not breaking people out, but telling the cops that like, hey, these guys gotta go. And the cops got nothing. Angelo goes into hiding. The sister start hanging out, and she invites him to where she works, and she happens to be a dancer at this club. And there's like a tiger. It's a really like nice high-end club and everything. There's like bottle service, all sorts of people are going there. Jackie sees her. They have a drink, they hang out, and then the gangs show up and they see who she's with, and they're like, come on, let's go. And then they leave, and they're all mad now. And I guess she's with him, because then the next scene they start making out. And the scene after that, they're like on a date with Danny, and then Angelo shows up and steals the wheelchair comforter and runs away, and it's not the right one. He's like, shit. So he goes back into hiding. And they're like, what the hell's going on? It's like a random crime against this handicapped kid. I think in the middle of that is like one of the most traumatic scenes I've seen. I remember being a kid and watching this and thinking like, that was the scariest shit I've ever seen. It's not even in a horror movie. It's in a Jackie Chan movie. So these like mafia dudes kidnap two of the those gang guys. They beat them up. You don't see the beating, but you can just tell they're all like bloodied and beat. They grab one of the dudes, and there's like a wood chipper. And, it's like, it's kind of light and not comedic, but it's, what's going to happen. And they put one of the guys in there, and he gets chopped up in the wood chipper. You don't see anything. You just hear the other guy screaming, and you just hear the wood chipper like chomping down on this dude. And then like one of the shots is like the guy's legs flailing up in the air, and I'm just like thinking like, as the guys were like shoving him in, his legs are like kicking out and like shaking as he's being chopped, and the other guy that survived, that's supposed to send a message, is like screaming. And I remember thinking like, holy crap, dude, like that was traumatizing. Like, I still think about that, and I'm always like, oh, dude, that sucks. Right? This guy was being fed into it. So not only is his brain matter being chopped up, or his arms are being chopped up, he's ripped to shreds. Like, there's just chunks of lasagna everywhere, and they're just feeding him into the machine even more. Like, I'm sure all the way to like his legs. And yeah, that was the most traumatizing thing I've ever seen. I was like, holy shit, dude. That's scary. The gangsters, the biker gang, go to Elaine's shop and they destroy it. And because Jackie hasn't been around, he's been on a couple of dates with Nancy and hanging out with Danny. You know, they make it seem like he hasn't been at work. So he shows up, and then the whole thing is like thrashed, so messed up, and everybody's just kind of upset. Elaine is especially upset with Jackie, and Jackie's like, I'm sorry, I'll make things right. And they're like, just get out of here, dude, you suck. And I'm like, no, don't say that to Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's upset, and he's like, that's it. So then he talks to Nancy, and he's like, where are they? And then they go to the gang hideout. He goes in, starts messing dudes up really quick, and the main guy pulls out a gun, and he's like, all right then, let's go. Yeah, so the guy pulls a gun out, and Jackie's like, hey, you got the guts? Let's fight. And everybody's dressed like an arcade 90s character. It's like super over the top 80s blend with 90s, like very colorful palettes of video game attire. Like it seems like this could have been a video game. Like, this is a video game remake, and it feels very video game. So the guy, the main biker guy, he like throws the gun away, and everyone in this gang starts cheering, and he's like, yeah. He gets on the pool table. Jackie gets on the pool table, and they start fighting. You know, they're fighting and fighting. Jackie overwhelms him, and he like beats him, and then that's when the whole gang starts getting upset, and they start fighting him. They start fighting him in like one of the weirdest places. It's like a warehouse. It's full of like appliances, and Jackie uses all of that stuff. There's like pinball machines that he like maneuvers his way in and out, snakes his way under. He like opens a fridge, hits a guy's head. He opens the freezer part, and then like hits the guy's head with that. Like, he's just using everything he can. He's like punching the shit out of everybody, and he's like using his Chinese kung fu to like deflect punches, dodge kicks, dodge this. I mean, he gets hit, and then like you see like the pain in him. Like, that's why I love Jackie Chan, because that guy, it's not like most action movies. Like, he gets hit and you could see the pain, and he just like rubs himself, like, to just kind of not let the sting of the punch or the kick stay on his body. Like, he kind of rubs it like it's gonna do something, but he gets hit. In all of his movies, he gets beat up. But I think that's the lesson, where it's like, you get beat up, but you get back up and you try again. And that's why I've always loved Jackie Chan. And like American movies, like the main character fights, he gets cut, and it's like he shrugs it off, and like nothing happened. Like, bro, if I were to get cut or shot or kicked in the face like that, I'd just probably be on the floor. But Jackie Chan gets hit, and he knows he's going to get hit more, so he gets up and, you know, waits for another hit coming from any angle, and he does his best, and he like rubs the pain. But then when he's done fighting, he's just kind of limping away, and I'm just like, oh, dude, that's the best thing. That's the best. So in this fight, he just kind of beats everyone up, but the main guy is like, all right, enough, like, it's over. And he tells them like, yo, you guys are the scum of the earth, the scum of the city. You guys don't know that. He's like, stop giving trouble to the shop and leave everybody alone. And he speaks in Cantonese, and he's like, I hope next time we don't fight, we can drink tea. And he leaves, and the other guy translates, and he's like, did he really mean that? He's like, yeah, man. And then all of a sudden, the dude that was at the wood chipper is carrying bags. And then they're like, hey, man, where are you? What's going on? where you been? He's like, help, help. And in the bags, there's like, his friend is in the bags. And they all look at the bags and everyone's barfing. They're like, oh shit, that's sick. And they're like, Angelo, they want Angelo took something. They're like, all right. And then they're like, I don't work with cops. Because Jackie's like, I know the cops. They're like, I don't work with cops. And they're like, no, they're FBI. They're not FBI. They're the secret, that organization. And they show up. Sure enough, they capture Angelo. They capture Nancy. They capture the main guy. And they beat up Jackie Chan again. It's like, why are you punching him? And he's like, wait, I know where Danny's stuff is. So they take Jackie to the apartment. Like, I mean, they beat up the poor kid in the wheelchair. And they keep beating up Jackie, and they're like, where are the diamonds? And they just keep punching him in the stomach, in the face, in the head. And they're like, where are the diamonds, you idiot? And then they grab the kid, they smack him across the face, and they throw him on the ground. And he's like, I know where the diamonds are, and they're my sister's diamonds. They're over here. And then the fact that they, they're not the diamonds they were looking for, they keep smacking this kid. And Jackie finds one of the crutches that the kid uses, and he beats up one guy, like pretty clean. He smacks him in the head, the throat, and the face. And he takes the gun, and he points it at this big, obnoxious-looking dude. And he's like, all right, stand over here, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, Jackie punches him. He's like, he's just a kid. He punches him and nothing. And then the kid throws a helmet at him, and Jackie smacks him with it as hard as he could, like boom, boom, boom. And the guy doesn't even like flinch. And then he throws the helmet away, and then the kid throws a giant wrench at him, and the guy looks at him and he starts to cry. He's like, please don't. Okay. And he's like, yeah. So that organization has Nancy and the main biker guy and Angela. And they're gonna, kill them unless Jackie can produce the diamonds. And he's like, I want my friends back. I want my friends. And they're like, okay. So he goes to Elaine, and then Elaine is already rebuilding the store, and they happen to have spotted him. And Elaine and Jackie go upstairs because she lives in the store. She lives in the upper level, and then they're like looking through the diamonds. And he's like, I gotta call the cops or something. I don't know what else to do. Like, you're the last person like I can talk to about this, blah, blah, blah. And then like he goes downstairs, and they've already like chained up the whole building to like trucks and cars. And then like they pull the whole building down. Like the face of it is ripped off its foundation, and just like it's just ripped apart. And then Elaine and Jackie are just like, what the hell's going on? And he gets a call from the main guy, and he's like, you like my style? That's how I roll. Give me my diamonds. And he's like, okay. And then in true like Charlie Chaplin fashion, like that was one of the things. Like that's what I mean. Like Jackie Chan is the Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin of this time, because he ripped the whole building. And he's in it while that's happening. You know what I mean? Like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton would rip buildings too, and they would like measure where they would land or where they would be just to get a shot, dude. Like it's so amazing, and it's crazy how not a lot of people think that. They just think Jackie Chan is the martial artist, but I think he's more than that. Like his movements are serious when he fights, but it's also comedic, and it's funny, and it's also telling a story when he fights. It's like he gets beat up, but he tries again, and when he tries again, he overwhelms or overpowers someone, because it's telling a story in a sense where it's like, I lost, but I'm going to win, and I'm going to keep winning, and I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep fighting. So Jackie finally goes and tells the cops, like, hey man, they got my friends. They're like, all right, listen, you're going to go in, and you're going to talk about this, and you're going to talk about that, and you're going to wire you. And then they sent him for some reason to go talk to these guys. He goes and talks to the main henchman, and they're telling him like, hey man, if you want your friends, just produce the diamonds. And he's like, I know your boss, White Tiger. And then the guy looks left to right and he's like, our boss isn't White Tiger. And he looks left to right. And true cinematic best performance of the decade. They know who he is. They try to kill him and they escape, but the cops are already on top of them. And they go onto this like hovercraft, like a hoverboat. And it's I don't know. I remember thinking that was like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. They're on this hovercraft and it like takes off and all the cops are after him. And Jackie like chases after the thing. He jumps on to the hovercraft, but I think he loses his balance and falls off, but he manages, like there's rope that gets caught on his leg and he's being pulled by this thing. And it's literally dragging him across the ocean. And I mean ocean. Like it's not a river. It's like a giant, stretch of water. And he's being dragged across it and the hovercraft is like knocking over small boats, people that are fishing, and like the cops are like chasing them on other boats and he has to like dodge and move or like somehow jump over said boats on the water. And then eventually reaches the other side. Yeah, it reaches the other side and then like the cops are trying to stop this hovercraft from like destroying more property, and Jackie is chasing this thing. Like he's on it and then he's not on it and then he's on top of it and he's being blasted by like bullets. He saves a kid and he gets run over by it and then it travels down the down the streets of the Bronx and it's like crashing into like cars, it's crashing into buildings. And then it like there's this couple on this like Ferrari looking car and it like runs it over and scratches off the paint and it looks really cool now. It's like a silverish gold color. And it goes down to this like concert thing that's going on. And the guys inside are telling him to go around. And he's like, I can't. And he's like, all right, return. But they've already blocked the street. So when it comes down, it's going to be this huge gunfight. Jackie sees the car, gets into the car. Like, okay, this is where I got a separate idea from this movie. Something about Jackie Chan jumping into a Ferrari-looking car, ripping the doors off the hinges, and getting a sword that he saw on a window from a store, from like a medieval store. He grabbed this giant sword, put it on the side, sticking out of the car, and drove down to the hovercraft to rip the air off the bag that's making it hover. Something about all of that is super appealing to me. I don't know why. Like I just imagine the writer writing, it's like, okay, there's going to be this car. It's not going to have any doors. There's going to be a giant sword, and Jackie Chan's going to ride down towards it, and it's like standoff, and he's going to quickly maneuver off to the right, and the sword is going to rip across the hovercraft's airbag, and it's going to just crash and careen into like the building. That whole little sequence to me was like, I remember thinking like, this is the greatest movie ever. I was like, Rumble in the Bronx, dude. This is epic. This is such a great film. I don't know why. And that scene itself with the car and the sword and the hovercraft elevates it to like 80 billion. Like, it's so good. So after that, Jackie goes in and punches the guys. He's like, where are my friends? And he shoots a guy in the leg. They rescue the friends. They get on the hovercraft. They teach Jackie Chan how to ride the machine. I don't know why. They find the main bad guy, White Tiger. They run his ass over at a golf course. They rip his clothes off, and his ass is all showing and cut and everything, and he's like crying and spitting grass out of his mouth. And the movie ends. Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx. Yep, 1995. Over-the-top action Jackie Chan movie. Which, I feel like it was a video game and it never came to America. And they're like, you know what? Let's make Rumble in the Bronx into a movie in Canada. All right, we'll get Jackie Chan. You know what I mean? All right. So if you've ever seen a Jackie Chan movie, you know that at the end, there's always these, I don't want to say bloopers because I don't think they're bloopers. I think they're like behind the scenes footage of him doing take after take and getting hurt. And it's in all of his movies. And in this movie, it does the same thing. It's just like Jackie Chan jumping on the hovercraft the first time, or maybe the only time, and he breaks his leg. And then it's like him just getting hurt throughout the whole movie. And that's the thing about that. That's the thing about Jackie Chan. Like, he gets hurt throughout the whole movie, but he still makes the movie while he's hurt. He'll like leave for a day or half a day or maybe for an hour and then come back. It's like, dude, you broke your face. All right, we'll keep shooting. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I get from Jackie Chan movies. Like, this dude will go the extra mile just to finish the movie. And there's been interviews and conversations where he's like broken. He can name all the bones he's broken, the nerves, and he's like ripped and like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how he does it. I'm pretty sure he's deaf and blind in one ear. Yeah, and like all these, I guess, bloopers. The credits are rolling and it's just like Jackie Chan doing stunts, landing said stunt. And I think it's only one take because there's like 50 cameras lined up. And he does it. He leaps across a building. He like slides, or he's almost getting crushed by trucks and cars. He's doing backflips and landing them wrong. And then in the movie he lands him right. You're like, what the hell? And you can just tell like there was multiple takes to all of this, like in all of his movies. In this movie, it's not just him getting hurt. It's like everybody's getting hurt. His stunt team is getting hurt. I'm sure the stunt team was the biker gang, because there's people on the motorcycles that are like falling off. There's like dudes getting hit by like metal beams and like doing like 3 backflips because of all the kinetic force. And then just like people getting hurt, like laid out on the floor and everything. And I'm like, damn, it's just, yeah, Jackie Chan, he's a national and international treasure. Like, he is the best dude. I don't know how I saw this, but there was a trick that he does with bubblegum. He like smacks his wrist and it launches it into his mouth and he starts chewing it. And I saw a video of him recreating that. I think the dude is like 80 something and he's still doing that. And he looks good for his age. Like I said, ever since I've seen a Jackie Chan movie, he's been top notch in his prime. Hilarious, funny. And, this Jackie Chan movie, Rumble in the Bronx, is later in his life, in his career, in the 90s, 1995. And is this his prime? I don't know. Because when he was in the American movies like Rush Hour and Shanghai Nights or Shanghai Noon, that was like in the later 90s, like 97, 98. And then he came out in like other movies. And then, he's getting kind of older. And like, he was still moving around, jumping, getting punched, getting crushed by trucks and everything. And I'm like, was that his prime? I don't know. Like, the guy has always been in his prime, is what I'm saying. Like, early Jackie Chan movies and this, like the middle movies and then the later movies. I don't know. Legend has it that when he got punched by Bruce Lee gave him his powers. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But how do you guys feel about Rumble in the Bronx? This is like one of my favorite movies. I remember seeing this like as a kid and just having the time of my life. Like, I love this movie. It's so good. I saw this like in the 90s when it first came out, because I remember seeing the poster and it's like Jackie Chan and like a muscle shirt, and there's like a blue background, and there's like fire coming out of nowhere, and the words "Rumble in the Bronx" are over his head. I remember that poster being at this like mom and pop video store that we used to rent movies from, and we got in VHS and we popped it in the VCR and watched it. I watched it like 20,000 times, I think. It was like so good. if one day I get a chance to like make movies and whatever, I wouldn't try to remake this movie, but I would continue this movie. Like Jackie Chan would be the uncle now, and then I'd get someone who'd be like him. But, you know, that's the problem. That's the problem now. There's no one like him. There's only like a few people that still do stunts and like get away with it at this age. Like Jackie Chan, I'm sure can call it, was like, well, I've already broken every bone in my body. I think I'm good, you know? And, you know, Tom Cruise, another guy, he's like jumping out of planes and jumping from space and landing it too, you know? Keanu Reeves is another guy. He's getting flipped into like glass, getting kicked and socked in the ear. There's like a few guys that are like big time actors like that are still doing their stunts. And that's the thing. Like if I were to remake Rumble in the Bronx, I would want someone like that. Of course, you know, if it's safe for them. Just be like, yo, can you pull this off? But like, no. Then I'd be like, well, gotta get the stunt guy in here, blah, 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 blah. But if I had like a Jackie Chan that was willing and would want to do the shot, and I'd be like, well, let's not remake, but again, let's push continue Rumble in the Bronx, where like Jackie Chan, well, this is my idea, I guess. Jackie Chan stayed in the Bronx, married, I don't know, Nancy or Elaine. I don't know what I would have done, but he's in the Bronx now. He's married and he has kids, and you know, that kid Danny's still there. That some of the biker gangs are now like community civil servants. They help out now, and it'd just be like a whole new adventure. It'd be like a whole new thing where like the nephew from Hong Kong would come and he'd be like, uncle, I want no trouble. Yeah. I don't know. This movie's great. I love this movie. Have you seen this movie? Do you like this movie? Do you hate this movie? If you hate this movie, I'm going to call Jackie Chan to come beat your ass. Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry for the delay. I'll see you soon.